Welcome to episode 3 of Rare Trains on the MBTA Worcester line. I think I'll start uploading these videos regularly because I live so close to the Worcester line and I'd rather upload these 10-minute compilations than upload one clip at a time. Anyways, here's MBTA 1509, which was supposed to have an engine on each end like it usually does right now, but for whatever reason, just this 1 week it had only one engine. Although, it was still worth seeing for me because I never see MBTA Jeeps. They're pretty uncommon on the Worcester line. I'm just east of Wellesley Square, near Wellesley Town Hall, and 1509 was coming in a little bit hot to the square. I calculated how fast it was going via frame-by-frame analysis, and it was doing 45 miles per hour past me, although it slowed to 35 by the end of the train. Six days later, I'm set up half a mile west of where I was for 1509 a week earlier. Here's the regularly scheduled race between 449 and 1507. 449 was a triple header of regular P42s. And 1507 was F40PH-3C number 1032. I think the engineer intentionally waited for 449 to pass so he wouldn't block my shot, because no one was getting on or off the train for a few minutes. 1509 got headed west right after 449 passed. The next day, I trekked across town to Wellesley Farms to hang out with my good friend Northeast Rail Videos to see some trains. Here's 1507 with 2000, the HSP with a much louder horn than all the other HSPs. A few minutes later, 449 passed quietly. Regular power again. A few hours later, I'm back at the farms after taking a break to cool down on this hot day. Here's 1509, which is a sandwich set on Fridays. 1032 and 2026 this week. After the weekend, I headed back down to the square to get the regular meet at 1. Here's 1507 with 2000, super loud as always. And here's 449 with the strange setup of engines. 2 P42s coupled hippo style, and one more P42 facing forwards. I've never seen two P42s facing each other in a 449 engine consist. also known as a deadhead viewliner. No idea where this thing came from. On May 19th, I got word that there was a GMTX GP38 in Framingham, which was headed on a B722, eventually to wind up in Indiana. This unit was previously leased by the MBTA as a temporary work engine. MBTA has 4 of these, including 2202, 2622, 2635, and 2636. Not sure how much longer the remaining units have on MBTA, but 2608 stays in Boston are now over. Here's Y220, the Framingham switcher pulling out to build B722, the nightly turn job to Worcester, effectively working as Q436 and Q437, one of which was cut to Worcester, and the other, 437, was completely abolished, with its cars taking various intermodals out of Worcester. All of a sudden, 448 showed up with 145 leading. I was completely caught off guard by this thing, even though I knew it was coming at some point. Anyways, back to Y220. Here it is pulling back to grab some more cars. I'm pretty sure conductors aren't supposed to use their cars to get around while switching on a train, but I won't question the process. A few days later, I headed to Wellesley Square again to see 1507 and 449. Here's 1507 with a regular set. And here's 449 with numerical units, 124 and 125. These things are stuck on the lakeshore. Later in the day, I saw 1509 with the sandwich set. Worst one I've seen yet, just 2 HSP 46s. After another weekend with no MBTA service between Boston and Framingham, I headed out to get 449 with 145 leading again. Nice to see this train in daylight. I'm so used to it passing in the dark. next day, I got 449 headed back to Chicago with 145. As always, it met 1507 at the square. A few days later, I got word of an MBTA rail train headed to North Grafton to supply some rails to be used on the GNU return to Milford. Years ago, there was a switch in Milford, Mass. That connected the very end of MBTA's Franklin line and the southernmost part of GNU's line. There are plans to rebuild the switch in Milford. Once this is done, CSX will no longer serve its customers in Bellingham and Franklin. These customers will be transferred to the GNU, which has a much more efficient route for delivering freight to these customers. Unfortunately, I missed the westbound loaded train. After dropping cars in Grafton, the extra headed back to Boston with just engines. Here they are at Wellesley Square. After passing me, they stopped on the other end of the platform to hop out of the engine and call the dispatcher about a signal at 14. This is the first time I've seen the same train twice at one station. I guess this was a mini chase completely on foot. Not bad.